Hey guys, post-recording Sonic here, just to tell you guys that this is part 2 of a 3-part series that is occurring on this channel, basically going over the video game Scooby Doo Night of 100 Frights. Be sure to check the link in the description for part 1, otherwise you are going to be completely lost, and to be honest, I don't know why you even skipped the part 2 in the first place. So be sure to click on that and enjoy the video. Tracing our way back into the fishing village and heading back to the place where we last left off, we find that, interestingly enough, the doorway we went through in order to get to the pier is weirdly absent, as the prompt is no longer there to allow us to go there, which pretty much indicates to the player that maybe there's something we're not supposed to see now that we have our newfound ability. Moving on from that, though, we go to the tar, jump over the barricade, and bada bing bada boom, into our next destination we go. And as it turns out, our next destination is the town's cannery, aka the place where they prepare and can the fish that they catch in the village in order to distribute it. And oh my god, the difficulty spike in this area. What the actual hell happened? And you know what? I love it. I love how I actually had to be careful not to fall below, because it's also really difficult as it takes you to a slippery floor mechanic that we found in the mansion earlier, and as a result, basically invalidates the helmet upgrade and the Black Knight upgrade, as you cannot use both while you are down there, which is especially better and more awesome when you consider what lies down below. And oh yeah, sure, it looks empty now in the clip, but when you awaken what's down there... Yeah, you get in what, in my opinion, was the scariest monster in the game for me as a child. Sea creature. Yeah, we all know Scooby-Doo isn't exactly the best at the naming conventions, as we can see. God damn, I did it again. I really did the sea pun again. Hey there guys, for a bit of context, there's a blooper that didn't make it into the last video about the sea, so real fast, here it is. And take our first steps into this fishing village, and oh my lord! Okay, I know the professor had an excuse in the fact that he just didn't take care of his house, but my god, it seems pretty dangerous to have this many big holes in your pier, especially if it's right next to the sea, which is pretty rampant, as we can see from I'm sorry, I tripped myself up there. As you can see, oh god, I cracked myself up. I don't know if I'm leaving that in the video. Bad puns aside, what a glow up for this design, because in doing research for this video, I saw the original episode and the original monster, and my god, it looks so lame and bland compared to the redesign that the game gave it. Though, weirdly enough, it's female in the game, despite the original creature being male, which is weird, but okay. Regardless, though, this is just awesome. I love this monster so much. Not only is it scary, and the noises it makes scary, but it is just overall a great and fantastic design. And once again, props to the art and design team for this, because oh my god, they seriously improved the design so much. But anyway, getting back to the point, combine both of the factors of, 1, the scariness of the situation, and 2, the difficulty spike that was given, and oh my god, you are given such a great reason not to fall down, and it just adds to the fun of the cannery, as falling down potentially means dying or getting stuck and having to run away constantly from these things that can attack you, but you will have one hell of a time trying to attack them. Honestly, the cannery offers not only a really cool environment, really cool monsters, and really puts your platforming skills to the test, and all in all, it just adds like a really good dynamic feeling to the level, as in reality there's pretty much 3 different elevations, I guess you could say. You have the bottom elevation with all the fish, all the sea creatures, you have the middle elevation with all the, all the weird conveyor belts, and then you have the higher up levels where most of the time it's just platforms and, once again, conveyor belts that allow you to get more items, which is really cool. It really, like I said, it's dynamic gameplay that just makes it so much more fun and so much more tense as you attempt not to fall off, because falling off of any of these conveyor belts possibly means that you have to restart again from a certain point, which is just, once again, I really admire the difficulty spike in this level. It is just golden, and overall the Cannery is just a really fun and difficult addition to the game. And while it doesn't last the entire area, as it pretty much has been for the last few areas, I would say, it's honestly an overall great addition to the game. Upon exiting the Cannery, we're greeted with not only a shortcut, but splitting paths? That is really awesome, as so far the game has been really linear in its progression, but from this point on and more and more examples pop up of divulging paths that allow you both to backtrack and possibly discover new areas if you're curious enough. And that's honestly what happened to me on my playthrough of this game last year, as I found out why the actual prompt from the back to the dock was missing earlier. It blew my mind, because it turns out that area leads straight back to the exit of the Cannery. The reason they didn't allow you to go back to that area is because it would have led you to the ending of the level we just went through, which honestly blows my mind, because it makes the map feel so much more interconnected as you slowly begin to see how all of the areas in total connect to each other, which once again feels like such a great sign of progression to the player and really provides us with a sense of growth throughout the game, which once again is one of the best parts of the Metrovania thing in general. It is, I'm messing up my words here, but it really is a cool factor. I mean, thinking back to what you were before you were able to backtrack to what you are now, it really just, once again, instills a sense of pride and progression in you, and it really just makes you feel good inside about yourself the more you discover in the game. And to add on to the awesomeness of the splitting paths, the developers actually made sure to add new monsters into the area, ensuring that there is at least a minor change there to make sure that you can't just blaze through the areas you've been through. The tar monster is now present at the docks, which is amazing, because one, they're covered in tar, so it kind of just makes sense to be here, but two, it really just makes sure that there's always something new for the players to come back to if they need to go back to the area, and that it's just not the same old bland area, which is really awesome. And once again, I gotta admire these minor things, because it really shows that the developers took some amount of care to making sure that the player kind of felt fulfilled and always amazed by the things that they were thrown at them. But after enough exploring, we actually find our way slowly making our way through the docks to a lighthouse island. And through some environmental clues, we also see that it probably isn't active, which, once again, the implications are pretty disturbing, as, especially for me, as I live near Lake Michigan, and the amount of tragic ship stories I've heard from around here makes the abandoned and sunken ships that we see all over this area all the more disturbing and scary. And once again, I love it, because it is just so cool that as of writing this review, I simply just want to write fanfics solely based on this headcanon that I theorized through seeing these locations and their environments and what the people who were in these shipwrecks at one point had to do and what they were doing. And it's really awesome. It's just all this story and lore building through the environment, and I really can't help but like that. Once we get to the actual island that the lighthouse is on, we actually find a divulging path. But interestingly enough, we can't really progress further, as no matter what we do, we just simply can't get to the actual boat needed to take us to the next path. And that is also something interesting to keep in mind, because according to good old Don Knotts here, we apparently need to float like a feather in order to get out there, so that's something to definitely keep in mind. And upon actually reaching the lighthouse, we trigger a time sequence where we have to race up to the top of the lighthouse, and once we get there, we find the light, but we break it and bash it because inside is our next power-up, the Lightning Bolt Smash, which finally gives Scooby an aerial attack, and for those smart enough, an extra movement option in the air. And I really mean that it is an extra movement option, as I feel there are so many jumps that are made possible solely because of the amount of area that you are able to cover using the slam mid-air. This feels like it was kind of a minor oversight on the developer's part, as it renders some sections that require future upgrades doable without it, and I absolutely love it. Not to mention, as a combat option, it is really, really great, as you can chain strikes on enemies and just use it consistently like that. Or you can use it to reposition against enemies, which is really awesome. It speaks to the level of mastery that one can achieve in this game when you learn and get used to this game's movement mechanics, as this one single upgrade can be both used in a fightable sense and it can be used in a movement-based sense, and it is just really amazing. Once again, it's probably a minor oversight on the developer's part, but this is just absolutely amazing and I love this upgrade so much. And the thing is, that's not even all this upgrade has to offer, as to add on to the usefulness of this move, you are now able to activate every type of switch in the game, as well as open up secret passageways scattered across the map. And in this case, there's literally one right in front of the staircase to the lighthouse, which takes us to a cave even deeper underground than the ones we went through in order to get to the lighthouse. And once again, we are met with diverging paths, with one leading us back to the manor, strangely enough, and the other being blocked by a snack machine of 500 snacks. Oh my god. I don't even know if, without being a kleptomaniac about Scooby snacks, if I would have had enough. And even then, if the player does not, I will once again praise the game, as it encourages the player to backtrack and find new areas that were previously inaccessible along the way. And once again, that's really awesome, because obviously there's going to be some curious players who want to know what's behind there, but once again, you'll have to backtrack to get more snacks, which encourages more playtime, which is just absolutely awesome and a great design decision. But since we have enough snacks, let's just see what's through this door.
Nope.
Okay, but out of all seriousness, this is an area that just freaked me out as a kid. It's not like goofy like the other areas we've been to. This is just, what the fuck? The environment honestly wouldn't feel out of place in something like Outlast or Resident Evil. Like, there is one section that's a literal dungeon full of locked up skeletons, either implying that this manor has seen some serious shit in the past, or the mastermind or professor have done some seriously messed up stuff. And it's also in here we find Shaggy locked up, and after releasing him and getting the key to the next door, we find a door on a very, very huge ledge that we can't access through jumping or through literally anything else in our toolkit, so we just have to come back another time. But upon exploring the area a bit more, we find another room that is just, holy hell. Professor, you have guillotines and literal pits of hell under your basement. There is either a greater problem than the monsters here, or the villagers of this town are into some really kinky shit. But after coming from hell and back, it's in this room that we find our next upgrade, which is the Plunger boots, which serve as a semi-upgrade to the galoshes, as they allow us to climb up smooth and slippery surfaces, as well as kind of going through tar as the boots disappear with the plunger. It's weird, it's probably a graphical thing. But along this, we also find packets of gum, which we'll come back to later, both of which we will need in the near future. And let's just say in the near future, I hope Scooby Doo likes spelunking. So, if you guys recall when we last visited the hedge maze, and as we were approaching the mountain towards the end of that specific area, there was a gate that required a switch to be slammed on in order to open it. And with our latest upgrade obtained, we are finally able to press it and move on. And by doing so, we head to our next destination of the levels, the Cliffs and Caverns. And design-wise, these areas are fantastically made. And even if the graphics and art are sort of dated to the time, it really doesn't matter because the way they designed these areas with the camera angles in tandem with how the platforming of these levels work creates such a grand sense of grandiose as you really understand how far up you are and how careful you must be in order to not fall down the cliffside. And the best part of is the sense of scale that is carried over into the caves as well, but in a different way, as the caves primarily focus on timed challenges, and in the same way of using the camera and environment to really put a sense of scale of what the player must tackle in order to get through that level. The camera angles in these sections are absolutely fantastic and are just great. They really set the proper atmosphere for what these levels should be. And honestly, I hope the gameplay is doing this justice because I mean it when I say that this is one of my favorite areas solely based for those reasons alone. The gameplay is fun, but then you get to the actual way they present it, and it is absolutely fantastic. Nearing the end of the cave section, we find our next upgrade, and it's actually an add-on to the lightning bolt, as this upgrade turns the lightning bolt smash into the super slam. What this does in concept is pretty awesome, as wherever you use the slam in land, any nearby enemies get put into a dazed state, pretty much allowing for one free hit, and for some enemies that require 2 hits, it allows you to kill them in 1, which is awesome. But the issue with it is that as cool as it is, the range of the shockwave is lacking, and the way it's presented in-game is really deceiving, as it looks a lot bigger than what it actually is. And the stun time is super delayed, and I mean, like, bad netcode delayed kind of delays, as it can take anywhere from 2 to 3 seconds after landing the super slam for the stun to go into effect. And while that sounds like it's not much of a difference, I should remind you that a lot of combat moves that Scooby has in this game have tons of end lag, meaning it is possible to be attacked by an enemy after you've done the slam, which really sucks because that can actually end up killing you if you're not careful. Say you are 1 hit away from death, you miss the slam range, and you die. Or even worse, you hit the slam range, and the enemy doesn't get stunned yet because the hit hasn't registered. It is really dumb, and while this could have been a really good upgrade, and arguably one of the best in the game, it's just so poorly implemented just because of that delay and the size of the wave. However, as we have just finished the cave section, we find our way to a major new change of scenery, and that is the graveyard section of the game. And for those of you who love the month of October, I'm sure you'll absolutely fall in love with the aesthetic and the color selection in this area, as it is practically just nice autumn colors to the dreadful grays and all the way to the greens just scattered around the place. The environment just exudes those early October vibes as you journey through cartoonish mausoleums, graves, and these nice looking trees. They even have the stereotypical Scooby Doo eyes peeking out from the shadows, which honestly is a really nice touch, and once again, just is a nice homage back to the original Scooby Doo, Where Are You? And once again, it's in this section that you realize how interconnected and interwoven the map is with everything else, as, what's that? This door is supposed to lead somewhere else, and this door leads back to a previous section of the game, which is absolutely awesome. And honestly makes you feel such a grand sense of progression the more you unlock more areas, because you realize, oh my god, I was here already. I've been here, and it really makes you appreciate how well the map design is all laid out as you realize how truly intertwined this map is. And the great thing about this is it once again reinforces the idea of backtracking into the player's mind. As we have already mentioned multiple times already, if I wasn't such a kleptomaniac, I would have had to backtrack so often in the game in order to simply just progress on forward. And it's things like this, the idea that you can just randomly go askew from the path that was intended and end back in an area that you had already explored. It's just absolutely amazing because it just reinforces the idea that you can go back to areas like that with the greatest of ease. And once again, I keep repeating this, but I really mean that the sense of progression and excitement that it instills in the player is just such a really excellent, just great thing. I'm like speechless right now, but it is genuinely a great feeling to find your way back to an area that you had already explored. It is just absolutely amazing. Also, as we progress through these areas, we find Shaggy on fire. Yeah, that just happens randomly in one of these. Anyway, as we stumble towards the end of the graveyard, we encounter our next big cutscene, where Scooby-Doo stumbles into the mastermind, just kidnapping Daphne away, and Scooby-Doo just spin dashes into him and gets Daphne back. But before they can escape, the mastermind brings out the next big gun, the Green Ghost.
You won't get away that easily.
You think that was easy?
This will teach you to cross paths with me. Here, I think this old friend of yours is dying to see you.
Scooby, I can't believe it. It's the Green Ghost.
That's right. And pretty soon you won't stand a ghost of a chance.
And oh my god, this is genuinely such an awesome boss, as unlike the Black Knight Ghost, his appearance has been heavily, and I mean heavily, foreshadowed for like such a long time. The build up to this fight was insane, because not only do we find his monster token in the cave section and in the great mausoleum / citadel area, there's literally a giant mosaic dedicated to this guy, but we also have seen paintings of him strewn throughout the mansion. It is absolutely insane how hyped up this boss is, and going into that, it just feels all the more exciting and hyped as you are left to speculate throughout the level as, will I encounter the Green Ghost? And if so, how am I going to fight him? And considering that this is the way you do it, it is pretty damn exciting. But for the boss itself, it basically just comes down to good timing again, as you're mainly trying to hit the timing of the button above a coffin that Daphne opens while the Green Ghost is stationary above it. And if that sounds like a lot, that's because it is. This fight is really, and I mean really, RNG dependent, or dependent. I'm screwing up my words here, but it is absolutely ridiculous how RNG dependent this boss is, as you once again have to wait for the coffin Daphne has to open up, the Green Ghost has to be standing above it, and if you're near it, you have to hope that the killer plants near there don't stop you from doing so. So it just really feels really cumbersome to be able to just slam down the button in order to get a solid hit on this guy. Also, this boss, although later on, technically has less HP than the Black Knight Ghost, as it only takes 3 hits to take down the Green Ghost. And in my opinion, it's also a lost out opportunity, as you could have had 2 green ghosts roaming the area, and you could have had the second one be the hazard instead of these plants. And while yes, the plants are a nice callback to the whole entire hedge maze section we had, I think it would have been cooler to have a second green ghost assist the first one instead of just having these plants do the job for him. And once again, I'm messing up on my words, but this boss fight just has so much to unpack. And aside from those slight grievances I just brought up, this fight is awesome! I absolutely love this fight! The animation for damaging the green ghost is so cool, as it's basically just a ghost trap animation from Ghostbusters as he gets sucked into the coffin. And also, the green ghost is a goddamn Dragon Ball Z villain, because my dude is firing away these Kamehamehas like it's no problem, and goddamn spirit bombs! Like, this man is like a Dragon Ball Z fighter just as a boss fight. I mean, screw Gogeta in fighters. Add my boy Green Ghost into the game, because he is clearly packing that heat, and I don't think Goku wants none of it. Honestly, the only complaints I have about this fight in all is just the RNG dependency and the fact that the second green ghost isn't really utilized as a concept, as I feel that would have made the fight so much more fun and so much more cooler, especially if you had to take out 2 green ghosts towards the end because he cloned himself or something. That would have been so awesome, because I already love this fight. The setting, the theme song, I haven't even gotten started. Don't even get me started on the theme song, because the Green Ghost boss fight is such a goddamn bop. It is so good, and you guys can absolutely hear it being blasted in the background. And it is absolutely amazing. I just love this fight so much. I don't know if it comes across in the gameplay or in my connotation of the voice, but it is absolutely amazing, and so much credit goes to the people who made this boss fight. But not all good things last, and as we defeat the Green Ghost and become official Ghostbuster material, Daphne reconvenes with us in order to discuss all the happenings and all the things that have gone around recently. And just like Velma, she's pretty confused as to why all these ghosts are popping up and around, as we have already beaten and unmasked them in the past. But before we can get anywhere, this witch pops out absolutely out of nowhere, tries to do a drive-by, and then just disappears. And randomly out of nowhere, Holly pops up and explains more in depth about the inventions we've discovered so far, as they actually come from boxes that shouldn't be scattered all over, as their proper place is in the professor's secret lab, as we also find another box full of inventions, and upon opening it, we find weird things, to say the least.
Solar-powered nightlight.
Underwater winner's racket.
Microwave-safe ice cube tray.
I mean, like, really, where does the professor get funding for half of this shit? It is weird, but you know what? That's just the life of an inventor. And getting back on track, we find our next upgrade here, which is the umbrella. But before Holly can explain how it works, the ground literally flips underneath them and throws them God knows where, and we are once again left alone. But thankfully for us, the game itself explains the upgrade, as it basically allows us to float and hover in place around areas, and if there's an air current in that specific area, you can actually use it to float up and rise. And this, in my opinion, is the best upgrade in the game, as it's not only easy to use, it allows you to reposition from a bad jump, it allows you to reach areas you couldn't before, and not to mention, when used in tandem with the default jump and the super slam ability, you are able to gain some insane distance. This is a monster of an upgrade, and it is understandable why it was reserved so late in the game. And using that upgrade, we use it to actually manage to get to the exit gate, where we find, once again, it leads to one of the locked gates from the manor courtyard, which I'm going to touch on this again lightly, but it once again builds on top of that idea of, oh my god, I thought at the beginning of the game, what am I going to do in order to come out from the other end of this gate? And now that I'm finally out of here, I'm not only stronger, but I've also come to a better understanding of the game and the area in general, as we have knocked out 2 out of 3 of the main game's hubs, which is absolutely insane at this point, and once again makes the player feel rewarded that they have gotten this far. But if you'll recall, I only said that we were finished with 2 out of 3 of the hub level areas. There's still one more we need to finish. We got the mansion down, we got the graveyard and hedge maze down, but we still have one more, and if you guys will remember this, we have a certain boat in order to reach on the outskirts of the fishing village. Something that was previously inaccessible because we couldn't reach the distance towards the boat. So, if you'll follow me, we'll have to backtrack one last time and finally wrap up the fishing village. And I hope you guys don't have thalassophobia, because we're all ready to set sail to our next destination. Hey guys, post-editing Sonic here. Sorry, I'm really tired, so I'm just gonna make this short. Thank you guys for once again watching this video and supporting the series. I'll probably have the next one not out by next Sunday, but the Sunday after that it should be out. Because simply I haven't recorded the audio yet for that one, so I still have to do that, and I'm not 100% certain how long that's going to take, considering that the next part I expect is going to be as long as the first part. The main reason why this one came out so quickly and so fast was because I already had the audio majority, for the most part, recorded. I only needed to record the Green Ghost boss fight segment, and yeah, basically just expect the part by the end of the month. And once again, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you really want to see more of this on the channel. So, see ya.